So welcome Sharon to the show. Hi Sharon.
Hi, how are you?
Great. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm very excited about this interview. I've been using these products for months now and I am obsessed.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice to hear.
So I know there's a lot going on with UOMA Beauty and everybody wants to know about the products, but
Mhm.
I kind of want to know a little bit more about your introduction to beauty growing up in Nigeria. I feel like there's so much inspiration that comes out of the continent, and I just want to know more about your experience growing up with that.
Yes, my experience growing up in beauty is quite interesting, right? Because we grew up in a culture that, especially for makeup, we're not really big culture in a certain regard, especially when in the younger years. I grew up in the era where you didn't wear makeup until you were 16, right? Because we were religious, we went to church, and you don't want to be putting on that devil's paint on your face or whatever. So that's really the environment to which we grew up. But what we had very well was care in terms of skincare and caring for your skin. My mom was always one to really, she kept it very simple in how she looked after herself. The big thing that most women back home would use lipstick, especially red lipstick, especially in that era, and brow products. So they always get the brows done and they'll always do lipstick. Foundations was never big because, of course, I mean, there are no foundations in our shade. So people would use, I remember back in the day, pancake is what they used to call it. Max Factor had the original pancake, and then there were so many copies of it back home, and people would put on their face, and they would look horrific because they look gray and like a corpse. But it was all that was there, so everybody, enjoyed the really ashy kind of look.
Yeah.
But I think, what was really amazing with that kind of upbringing that wasn't very makeup heavy or makeup driven is it really taught you to love yourself. It really taught you to discover and identify with yourself first before anything else. And I think that was really what formed my view of beauty in terms of, beauty. The products we use don't define who we are. It don't make us beautiful. We are beautiful. However you feel. If you felt beautiful before you put it on, you're going to feel beautiful after you put it on. If you didn't feel beautiful before you put it on, even after makeup, you're still going to find all the faults and why you're not beautiful. So I think, growing up back home, that sort of environment that wasn't very much about, almost like coloring your sorrows away, was really good because it allowed us sort of experience ourselves first. And I think also for me, growing up, I wasn't a popular kid. I was really bullied because I was too skinny. My eyes were too big. My cheekbones were too high. And I was too small. And so I was really, really bullied growing up. I never grew up being the pretty girl in class. I was never the chosen one. And so it was quite interesting for me because I then transitioned, and somehow overnight I became trendy because the sort of idea of beauty shifted. And all of a sudden skinny girls were in vogue. High cheekbones were great. Exactly. Big lips. Yeah, I used to be called Froggy because my lips were so big and my eyes were so big.
We used to call me Lipton, like Lipton tea. Yeah. Now I'm like, there you go.
I love it. But it's so true. And so all of a sudden, I went from being this sort of undesirable to this girl that people were like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. And to be honest, nothing changes about you because you're the same person, just because the world is perceiving you differently. And so it made me sort of believe that the world was a little bit schizophrenic. And I think what I got out of that was that it really doesn't matter what people think about you, because the me that people hated and the me that people loved was still the same person. I didn't really care. I didn't really care about, what they thought about me. So I think those are really good formative years. I think I love the that and what that did to me as a person. Firstly, making me, having that experience being bullied made me sort of like not care what people think. Yeah. And even when I came on the other side and had a different experience where, I became in quote unquote demand, I still didn't care. Yeah. So it was amazing. So
define me. I'm going to define myself. Thank you very much.
Exactly. Nobody defines me. Nobody tells me how to feel about me. And that's how I feel today. And that's been a really key part of my life and my character, is that I do things for me. I don't do things for anybody else. Even what I do now, when I'm like, I'm here in this brand in an act of activism and services, I do it because I want to do it. So there's never a confusion in my head why I do the things that I do. I never do anything. I'm never influenced by people. I'm never influenced by trend. If I don't like it, I don't like it. If I'm not using it, I'm not using it. I don't care if the whole world are using it. I don't. I haven't watched most TV shows that most human beings have watched, and it
Hey,
doesn't
I
bother me.
remember watch Game of Thrones. They're like, oh,
There
Sharon.
you go.
I'm like, I just never have.
I know, but it does, things like that don't bother me. I remember when Narcos came out and everybody was going about Narcos. I never watched it. You know what I mean? And I think that's a key part of who I am, in terms of and I'm very grateful to that upbringing. I'm very grateful to my bullies as much as I'm very grateful to my admirers in the end, because they formed my character, they formed who I am, and I would not change it for the world.
I love that. So how did the idea of UOMA Beauty even come up? Did you just wake up one day, or was it just like a gradual thing that you knew that one day you wanted to do it? Like,
I didn't know I never saw myself owning a makeup line, if I'm honest. I always knew I was going to end up an entrepreneur one day. I sort of had that feeling because I've always been very, very entrepreneurial. I'm not really good with following rules, so I always knew that my corporate career will have an end date at some point, because I have a knack. I don't like being told what to do, and that's a big problem. In a structure that survives based on hierarchy. I'm very common sense driven. I always need people to tell me why I do anything before I do it. I will never be a good soldier, because you cannot tell me go and kill and I just get up and kill. I'm going to ask you why. You know what I mean? And so, and that's sort of my the way I've always been in my character. So I always knew that at some point I was going to leave corporate, because there was a lot of parts of corporate I just thought, for lack of a better word, is just BS.
yeah.
And I
MH, right?
What was that? Yes, I worked with LVMH. I worked with a lot of guys before that. I worked with, Pepsi. I worked with, even pharmaceuticals in Novartis, which is now GlaxoSmithKline. I worked with L'Oreal. So I'd done my corporate rounds, and everywhere I went to, I was always, in the start of my life, I've always been a weirdo, right? Mm-hmm. So as with weirdos, you're a weirdo because you're not conforming to what people believe in and what people think. And so I always knew at some point I was going to go do something, but I didn't know what it was going to be. And then, continuing a career in beauty, I just got to a point where I just got so frustrated with the industry. I got frustrated. I just could not see eye to eye with people in terms of just how, the industry just lacked any excitement. And the reason it was boring was because it just lacked any diversity. It was a place where everybody expected to conform to one standard. And it was like, well, that's boring. That's not exciting. We travel around the world because we want to see new stuff. I actually personally get frustrated these days when I travel around the world and I'm seeing the level of westernization around the place, that everywhere looks the same.
You go through travel retail. You're like, okay, well, where are they? Because I saw your Insta story.
Oh, don't even get me started. Don't get me started on that one. I remember, let me tell you a great story about years ago. I went to Dubai. And I stopped and had my makeup done in travel retail because I'd lost my entire makeup kit. And so I ended up buying a whole bag of Estee Lauder products. But here was the problem. None of the things actually matched me. And at the time, I wasn't even looking. When you're the sort of people just applying makeup, or you just like, whatever, just, what did you put? Just give it to me. You're not really looking. The lights, they're terrible. And it was until I actually got on the other side, I realized what I just bought. All the colors were off. They were so pale, and those were the darkest products they actually had there. So, it was just an industry.
Because I know they have shades now.
Of course they do. Even back then, they had the shades. Let's face it. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of brands, like the same thing. You go to, and I think that's what I was ranting about in my Instagram stories. That you go to MAC or all these brands that have 60 shades. You go to the counter in Africa, you can't find a dark shade. So it's like, where did the shade disappear to? I know it's in your portfolio.
I actually spent a few years in travel retail for MAC in JFK, and when I first moved to New York. And one thing that was really huge when we first opened the store is that a lot, like the evening flights, all the flights that were going to Lagos and everywhere else, they would buy all the makeup in droves. We're like, we know they're gonna sell it, but we don't care because I know we know there's a lack. You know what I mean? They would buy because we carried everything in that location because I was.
There you go. See, pays to carry.
In certain counters, you'd see 6 concealers, and I'm like,
okay. Yeah, but it's true. But at the end of the day, I think sometimes it's not really the brand's fault; it's the retailer's fault.
Exactly.
Because a lot of times the brand. Exactly. They've created the product. They want to sell it.
Yeah.
It's literally the retailer going, I'm not going to give you that real estate to waste on this shade because I see it as a waste. So I think, for me, it was just that we were in an industry that just had a long way to go when it came to actually just being interesting, or having like, any sense that diversity is what makes us beautiful, that we're beautiful because we're different. And so that was really my big push. And I think it was a combination of that. It was a combination of, I was just, like I said, I was frustrated with the industry. I was frustrated with corporate. And sometimes you need that level. Like somebody said to me, you need a healthy dissatisfaction with status quo to do anything crazy. There is an unhealthy dissatisfaction and there's a healthy one. And I think I had a very healthy dissatisfaction with the status quo. And why will I say it was healthy? Because it was one that was channeled to how can I be part of the solution, as opposed to just I'm dissatisfied, I hate this, and whinge and complain and do nothing. And I think that's just where I was. And when I first came up with the concept of UOMA Beauty, people don't know this. It actually came in a different iteration, and I wasn't confident enough to want to back this myself in terms of be the face of the brand. So I actually wanted somebody who will remain unnamed, who's quite famous, and said to them, hey, I want to do this brand, but I'm more interested in the business part of it than I am in, being the face of this brand or anything. And why should anybody listen to me? I felt like if you look at beauty, the people who create brands in beauty are usually either makeup artists or the influencers. I'm neither a makeup artist, neither am I influencer. So I was like, I have no rights to play here, but I really want to make a difference. Hey, would you come in and do this with me? And you can be the face of the brand. We're going to tell everybody it's your brand, but I'm like the business engine, really firing the brand from the background. And the person turned it down.
Yeah.
Yes. And then in that moment,
okay.
exactly, right? In that moment, it was quite funny. I'm normally a fighter, right? And when this person said no, for some reason, I just invited. I just walked off. And I went to my sister and I said to her, look, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it anyway because I know this needs to be done. And I'm going to back myself and I'm going to call the brand UOMA Beauty. And that was how UOMA Beauty was born. So I don't tell that story very often, but that is literally the truth about the birth of UOMA Beauty. It was, I, like every other woman, you put yourself down, you doubt yourself, you feel like you're not enough. And that's why this brand is so personal to me, because through this brand, I personally have gone through my own therapy, through the brand, in terms of, all the struggles that we have as women of color. And I'm not talking about just finding foundation. I'm talking about the psychological struggles that we have in terms of not feeling enough, not feeling like you're worthy. You know what I mean? Like you were born and from a very young age, you realize that you were wrong. You're different, but not different good. You're different bad. Your nose is too big, your hair is the wrong texture, your skin is the wrong color. These are all the things society pushes at you. And I think in the journey of UOMA Beauty, I had to confront a lot of things. And as such, I had to confront a lot of things about myself. I started UOMA Beauty, I used to wear wigs. Back then, I don't wear wigs anymore because I realized I was a slave to the wigs. And my whole identity and self-confidence somehow started getting tied to my wigs. And this brand has been an incredible journey for me. And that's why I'm so excited to share it with the world, because I hope every woman has the experience I had going through UOMA Beauty, like who I was before I walked in and who I am on this other side and who I know I will become the more I'm in here, because it forces me to face my truth and accept my truth. I cannot be speaking truth to other people and lying to myself. And I think that's been the most powerful thing about this brand is inception. It's just happened. I've just followed. I always say here, I'm here to serve. I've just followed wherever it's led. When I started this, I never knew I would be an altar, Selfridges. If you told me last year, at this time last year, I would be doing the things I'm doing this year, I'm going to tell you like, oh, get out of here. You know what I mean? But I just sort of blindly followed this mission and this purpose, not want to get rich, but want to enrich the lives of people, want to share as community, share as a tribe, and share our experiences openly. Because whether you're a woman of color, or you're just a woman, or you're a man, I say this brand is for the misfits, right? Whoever you are, and you've ever heard, oh, you're different. You've ever heard the word weirdo. This is the home for you. Because here we say high five. Because here's what I discovered later in life. All the successful people in the world are weirdos, right?
Yeah, they weirdos. They dropped out of school. They didn't have
Yes, exactly.
That's the biggest difference.
Exactly. So guess what? Being a weirdo should be a compliment. And this is the tribe we're creating and the movement we're creating to realize that being a weirdo is the best compliment you could ever have. And I hope that everybody who encounters the brand discovers that and discovers their own type of truth. I can't tell them what they're going to find with this brand, but I just want them to come on that journey and discover whatever it is for them to discover right there. But it's going to be one of self-love. That's what I know for sure.
A lot of your packaging and messaging is centered around Afropolitan heritage,
Yes.
and your products are named after culturally influential women. What
Yes.
strategies is the company undertaking when it comes to the representation of all skin tones and
Yes.
ethnicities?
Yeah, so I mean, our products speak for themselves. You know, when we come out, like when I develop products, if it does not work on any skin tone, if there's one skin family it doesn't work on, that product never makes it out to the marketplace. And that's a commitment that we continue on, you know. And for me, I don't do that just on a shallow level. I genuinely am committed to that. That's why I launched with 108 products. I never wanted any woman or any man to feel left out. I wanted everybody to find something within the range that they loved so they can feel part of this movement. Now,
I love how you just skipped over 108 products. This is like, that's amazing. That's
it's a lot. I think it has to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest beauty launch ever. I don't think any brand's ever come out of the gate with 108 products. I don't think it's ever been done before.
People always say, start small, do this first, and you're like, no, I'm gonna do
no. That was their purpose. Mine was different. Mine, I had to go out there and I say, you cannot, like, I was here to lead a rebellion and pretty much ignite an uprising. I can't do that by whispering.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to be out there, you know, like going like, hey, and that's exactly what we set out to do. But in terms of the Afropolitan side of it, you know, this is where we came in, or I've come in with a very different view of inclusivity. Everybody's view of inclusivity is, let's all not talk about anything that identifies us, because that will exclude some people. It might make some people feel uncomfortable, right? So let's just all come together. Let's try not offend anybody. Let's not have an identity. And that's how we're going to coexist as global citizens. I say wrong. I said that's the mistake we've always made. You know, I think to exist as a global citizen, you have to be yourself first. Yeah. You have to firstly have a sense of identity and heritage and culture, and you have to authentically love yourself. I mean, if you can't love you, how are you going to love anybody else, right? So part of what we did here was lead by
church. I love it.
Right now, I'm taking you all to church. I always take everybody to church, right? It's like you have to love yourself. You have to love who you are. I cannot be a global citizen if I can't be me first, right? And so through what we encourage here is everybody being yourself. And guess what I am? I cannot have a brand and tell you about any other heritage because I don't know what it feels like to be that. But here's what I can tell you. I can tell you about my culture, and I can tell you why it's beautiful. Yeah. I can tell you what's so unique about us, you know, and I see it as an introduction. I meet you and I'm saying, hey, I'm Sharon. I'm Nigerian. Nigeria is part of Africa. Africa is this really big place and a beautiful place, and it includes Africa's diaspora. Now, let me tell you some amazing stories from where I come from. Yeah. And in return, I want you to be able to tell me your story too. So this is a place where we get to share. But I can't share with you by being fake. I can't share with you by going, hey, let me tell you about this old Chinese recipe. How the hell am I going to know about an old Chinese recipe? You know what I mean? Like, so I think this is where brands get it wrong. It's fake inclusivity. They want to tell everybody's story. Who qualifies you to tell that story? You know, and so the stories are not deep, they're not meaningful. But I can tell you my story, and I can tell it the best. I can tell it to you, and I can showcase my art. I can showcase the joy of the story. Like, you know, Black Magic Palette we released celebrated 3 goddesses from West Africa that are known around the world, but they originated from West Africa. I could tell that story. I can tell you the story of Yamoya and how it impacts everybody. I can tell you about Oshun. I can tell you about Oya. I can tell you that, and I can do justice to that. And whether you're from Brazil or you're from, you know, Haiti, you will understand that story because you have a version of that story where you're from, right? And that's what we do. We tell our stories in a really authentic form, yet we invite everybody to come and enjoy this. And that's why I keep talking about what makes us beautiful is that we're different. Because imagine a beauty hall where you can see a proudly Afro brand, a proudly, you know, Indian brand, a proudly Chinese brand. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to feel left out because in floating through that world hall, even I buy a skate too. I buy Shiramura because I love it. I love the story. I love the, the old Chinese rituals that they've put into this brand, or Japanese rituals that they've put into these brands. That's why I love them, so I go in there to go into that world. And I think beauty needs more of that, because that is true inclusivity.
Everything.
Exactly. It's true inclusivity, because inclusivity should be your ability to remain yourself, yet be invited to that party and get a seat on the table. Now, what beauty says is, we're inclusive to you, but you can't be yourself. You know what I mean? Like, we got 60 shades of foundation. Come and take your shade. Yeah. But what does it mean for me to have dark skin? What does my existence mean? What does it mean to have fair skin? Nobody wants to explore that, because no, beauty shouldn't explore of that. Beauty should just be shallow. Yeah, there's your foundation, skedaddle out of here. So I think what we're doing is introducing a new, deeper era of beauty, where things are meaningful, where people are more proud of their cultural heritage and identity. And I see with a lot of people, and I get even emails and DMs from people from around the world. I had a DM from a girl from Venezuela who said to me, I'm so happy that you exist, because it shows me I can do anything. Even with all the issues going on in my country right now, it shows me I can be and I can do anything, and I can still be proud of my heritage. And that's why I do what I do.
So let's pause for a quick second. If you follow me on Instagram at Jalisa Jaikaran, you'll see that I did a UOMA Beauty weight test. Now, what is that? I went to Essence Fest and I wanted to see how long does this makeup last. Now, if you can't hear it, I am from Trinidad, so I was raised in the heat and I want to know how long is this makeup really gonna last. So I tested it and I got multiple text messages from my clients that the makeup lasted so well. And on myself, it definitely lasted. So why am I telling you this? We're definitely gonna do a giveaway for this episode, so don't forget to listen to the very end and follow us on the Life of a Makeup Artist to find out how to win.
So the conversation around foundation has been very hot since Fenty came out. But yes. I want to touch on your lipsticks because for me, I have big lips and my lips are two-toned. My lips is darker, one of my lips are is pink.
Yes,
so I wanted to talk about your lipsticks because your shade range is also very dynamic. And I wanted to have a little bit of conversation around that.
No, I think a lot of times people just see the challenges we face as, a foundation exclusive problem, but it's not, it comes into every category. Highlighters are too gray, you know what I mean? Because all the highlighters have a white base on them. And so, yes, on different dark skin, it'll pop up a different color. Same with lipsticks. People are not understanding that a lot of women of color have two-tone lips. A lot of women of color have actual black lips, black lips. Which means that if you put one of those lipsticks that ain't got pigment on them, it will not show the color that it should show because the base is black. And so all these women are having to pop concealers on their lips, which would then dry their lips out just so that they can make the lips beige first. So you almost like transition one color before you put lipstick. Who's got time for that? And so, you know what I mean? Like, so when I built the range, it was like, okay, we need to get that pigment working. So that every woman can actually see correctly. And you think about it. If a lipstick is highly pigmented, if you're light skin and your lips is light, all you have to do is use a little bit. You get the same outcome. You know what I mean? And then somebody who's dark skin can use a lot and then they get the same outcome. Versus when we have a lipstick that's not pigmented, then light skin can use it, but dark skin period can't use it because it just comes across. Like my sister has black lips and when she wears like red lipsticks, they just come out like this faint kind of like interesting color because her lips just peek through it. And so a lot of my lipstick I tested right on her lip directly, especially the reds. I'm like, hey girl, bring that lip of yours. I'm popping these reds on and I want to see that red stain through the color. And whatever it did, I'm like, yes, we got that right. So I think for me, it's about paying attention and making sure that we see that. Is even in the same with the pointy end of the lipstick, how making sure that those bullets are quite sharp so that they can work on both small lips, they can work on big lips. So I think sometimes these things don't take that much effort. It just takes the consideration in the first place. But it's not that hard, to be honest. You know what I mean? I was a one-man team and could launch a 108 product range. Companies with like 2,000 people, come on, they can do better.
They definitely can. So now that you are a official player in the game, what is your opinion of the current state of the industry? There is so many things happening. A lot of brands are coming up with foundations left and right and trying to
Mhm.
catch up. And I know that so many of them are looking at you now and what UOMA is doing and what is coming next. So what do you think is happening in the industry right now? Because they definitely shook. Like, definitely shook. And they're going to have to continue to be shook because I know you have a lot of things coming. But what do you think, what do you think is happening behind the scenes right now?
Yes, look, I think behind the scenes they begin to pay attention. They're realizing that it's not anybody's game, in a way. In that, one, customers are very discerning. We came out and we didn't even have to say much, and people were like, "Yeah, they're legit." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Customers are stupid. They can see and they can see authenticity from a mile out. We came out and launched the brand. Everyone's like, I mean, trend mood is usually a massacre zone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, trend mood is a massacre zone. And I was like, when I was launching and Trendmood did the announcement, I was petrified. I think I read every single comment on Trendmood.
Oh my God. Yeah, they will go in on Trendmood. They will go in.
I read every single comment and I was blown away. I don't think there was a single negative comment, and then people just saw it straight away. People were like, wow, this is amazing. This is dope. This is Bob. This is a trend move. That we even announce celebrity brands and people go like, yeah, like who asked for this? You know what I mean? Like nobody asked for this stuff.
Literally nobody. You know that meme?
You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's a hard pass for me. Oh, it's a hard no. Oh, like this is trend mood. And so I think, one of the things that companies are seeing right now is that the customers are just blunt. Now people can hide behind a computer and say whatever they want to say.
Yeah.
So when they're nice to you, you actually have to take that thing as a compliment and be like, oh my God, because
it's time to be nice to me. Wow, thank you.
Exactly. People don't have incentive to be nice anymore. There is no consequences for just saying the nastiest and meanest thing that pops out of your head, which is usually, frankly, the more entertaining thing, to actually read. That's the reason why we all troll to Shade Room's comment sections and trend, let's be honest, because you want to see those brutal comments to make you eat that popcorn and burst out laughing. So it's just really bad when you're on the receiving end of those comments. And yeah, so I think, for myself, it was, for me, I was really, really humbled by the way the market responded to the product, how they responded to somebody who was not a celebrity. I mean, I went into this brand with less than 1,000 followers on Instagram. So that's how influential I was. You know what I mean? I had no influence. And they have just sort of come through and just stood for us and understood the purpose, understood the messaging, and connected with the messaging. And for that, I feel really grateful. And I think this is what companies are going. How do we recreate this? How do we recreate authenticity? But the truth is you can't. You're either authentic or you're not. Exactly. So I would say instead of trying to recreate that, just be authentic. Just genuinely do things from the bottom of your heart. Just genuinely hire an inclusive team. Because if the teams creating this product are truly representative of the people using this product, you won't have this problem because they can see through. They can see that these people thought about it. At the end of the day, our consumers are human beings just like us. It's not that complicated. Everybody wants to spend so much money on market research when if you just hire the right people around you, honestly, they are your market research because they are your consumers. And I think that's something that, people are, I see all of those they come on my website, they buy products, I know they're trying to replicate and whatever. And I'm like, good luck, like whatever. You know what I mean? But I'm like, you can replicate a formula, you can replicate a product, but you cannot replicate a movement. Exactly. You cannot do that. And so that's a part that makes me laugh. And, in terms of people really eagerly awaiting what's next for us, I mean, it makes me so happy, especially in the industry. When I see, some people, they want to have private meetings and figure out, pick your brain, see why and all of that. And I just laugh because when I sit in those meetings, the same thing I say, whether it's on a podcast, an interview, wherever, what does your teams look like? Yeah. Make your teams inclusive and you wouldn't have to be trying to copycat a brand that's 4.5 months old.
Yeah.
Period.
Wow. So that leads me right into my next question. Obviously, without, giving away too much, skincare has been a major part of the conversation in beauty.
Yes.
Fenty has been coming out with, they have 3 different primers now. And so many other brands have been, changing up a lot of things that they've been doing. So what can we expect from UOMA? And just
Yes.
a hint, a secret.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would definitely tell you that you're going to see a lot more color. Definitely, you're going to see a lot more color over our next few launches before you're going to see any more sort of, really care focused products. But for us, the good thing we do, we always have a hybrid. Like there's nothing that I bring even in color, from my lipstick to everything that I bring has our skincare benefit. So you're going to see a lot more color plays coming out from the brand. We're going to be launching a whole new product or products in the next few weeks. So there is
What?
something. Yes. There is definitely we've been busy. Yes, exactly. So there is a drop coming out soon. And we just at the point where finessing that last line. I'm always tweaking. To be honest, it should have come out in September, but Sharon will not stop tweaking. But I'm a perfectionist. I love when I do something. I put my whole heart into it, and even if the market don't like it, even if people criticize it, it's okay for me because I know I did my best. You know what I mean? So Sharon won't stop tinkering and tweaking. So I've been out there tweaking even some more because I want to make sure that everything that we know can be better, we make it better before the product hits the market. And that's what I've been finalizing. So we're behind a little bit on that timeline, if I'm honest, because we should have been out, in a couple of weeks time. But I wanted to do my final tweaks to make sure that, it's better delayed. Like I said, I didn't launch this brand to grab cash from people. I launched this brand to make sure that I'm serving a very, very underserved market. And as such, I want to make sure I do justice for them, to make sure that I'm not going, you're not worthy, you're worthy. So you're worthy of the best. And if I'm bringing out anything, it's because I feel it's the best. And it's because I've done the best that I can to bring this out. And so that has been me over the last month, just reworking this product slightly and making my final tweaks, which now at the point, the good news that I'm very happy. Like that's the point that I'm very, very happy, and I'm proud to put my name on this. So that comes out. We've got two drops that are going to happen before the end of the year. So we're going to be busy in Q4. And then next year we've got some amazing. I think next year what people are going to see more from us is collaborations. Okay. Definitely going to start seeing some collabs coming through, and very unexpected collabs as well. You know what I mean? Like very unexpected because for me, we as a platform, I'm a storytelling platform. And so why next year was very important for me to collaborate with others is I've been telling a lot of my stories this year. People got to see my origin and my roots from our first campaign with Lagos and the stories that came out of there and the products that came out of there. They got to see the women who inspired me. I say I stand on the shoulders of giants. So they got to see some of the giants on which shoulders I'm standing on. I mean, through Boss Gloss, people got to see, my sort of secret sauce for success, passion, ambition, cray cray, Zero FK Rose, which were all the shade names there. So people got to really see. So I think the collection so far has really told the story of my journey. And now it's time to open that up for other people to come and tell their stories and inspire the tribe through their own stories. And so next year there's going to be quite a bit of that that comes through. So I'm very, very excited about, the people whose stories we're going to be telling next year. I think I can't wait. And so yeah, it's really exciting time for us. I think it's gonna be it, and then we're gonna do some really interesting drops as well. I think I'm looking forward to some really interesting drops. Very, very interesting in terms of true innovation, like just never been done before items that we're going to drop next year. So I think it's going to be a mix. You see from us, some color plays. You see from us some never been done before. We're never afraid to take a risk and challenge the category and move the industry forward. And then you're also going to see us in new places, in new markets. The demand for us overseas has been incredible. So people are going to see us in more places pop up as well. So very exciting times. That's why I'm not sleeping, but we'll sleep one day, not today.
So New York Fashion Week just wrapped up, and you sponsored the PMR show, and it was incredible. It was inspired by 70s beauty. Love the brand. I've worked with them before, and I was just looking at the pictures like, okay, I know exactly what product they use. It looked amazing. What was your experience like? Was this your first show that you've ever sponsored for Fashion Week?
This was our first Fashion Week outing. I mean, people keep forgetting we're 4.5 months in the market. We're not even 5 months old yet. So everything we do at the moment is the first. So this was our first Fashion Week that we went out with. It was really important that for me, stay true. You know, it's not about, hey, I want to go sponsor the bigger shows because I want to get the press and whatever. It was about, we're going to align with brands that are aligned with our purpose and our message. And so we chose two brands. We chose Laquan Smith and we chose Pure Moss. Both brands I'm super impressed with because there are not many Black-owned brands showing in Fashion Week. You don't really get many of them. I think in the past you would get Pure Moss, Laquan Smith, and you get Kushni. And Kushni didn't show.
And I think there's Makio too, I believe.
There's Makio. Makio is from Lagos, but she's not on the main calendar.
Yeah.
But Makio was incredible, and she was actually a third. We actually were in conversations with her. It's just it came so late in the play that we just couldn't pull it off. We're a very, very small team, but definitely was one that we discussed with. So we were in conversations and we wanted to support shows, specifically shows with Black creators, but not just that. We also wanted to support shows that had a meaning, and they were just two different scales, those two shows. You know, we started with Laquan's show, which was amazing. We keyed with Sir John. Sir John is just one of the most beautiful souls you can ever meet. You know, he came to me, he supported this brand from day one. And he was always like, whatever you need from me, you just call me and I'm going to show up. And he's been very true to those words. It's not many times in this industry you find real veteran players riding for new people without gain. You know what I mean? Like they sort of ride with you when you want to cut them a big check, but nobody just organically just goes, call me anytime. If you need advice, call me. What do you need? I will help you out. And that's who Sir John is. So Beautiful Soul it was so important, like for us to debut Fashion Week with Sir John, not because of, oh, he's Sir John, Beyonce's makeup artist, but because he's been so supportive to me in my journey here. And staying here. So we worked with Sir John on the first show, which was like a reunion for us. You know, we had all our girls there, you know, everybody was there at the fun show.
Fashion Week is very crazy, but it's fun.
It is fun, especially when you're like I said, because we stayed true to who we were. We were with family. You know what I mean? Like Laquan's family, his team are family to us. And all the models were family, you know, even Sarah Khan, you know, we mixed everybody, like was just that. And so it was really amazing. And then the Pure Moss show was a shift of gear. You know, it was spiritual. We knew it was going to be that way, which is why we're so keen to support that show. It was so truthful. It's everything we stand for, you know. Kirby does an amazing job with storytelling, and not just storytelling, authentic storytelling. We were in a theater in Brooklyn. It was open to the public, so you had amazing people just turn up for this show. The theater was full; it was packed full. You know, he had a choir. He took us to church. He paid a homage, and it was an ode to Black women's hair. You know what I mean? And you know, this was part of a series of the work he's been doing, which has been reclaiming things that have been created by Black people, but were taken away from us. And so this time was about rock and roll, which obviously has its roots in Black culture, but nobody acknowledges that. And I think it was just phenomenal. It was not just about the message of the show, but how he delivered that message, the creativity around it. It really allowed us, I mean, we're talking about rock and roll here. So it allowed us to really play with color. We came in there and we just played with color and sent those looks. And we were so like, I look back and I'm incredibly proud of those looks. Incredibly proud of Kirby and the show that he pulled off and how real it was. I mean, everybody in the room felt it. That's what I talk about, authenticity. And it's so funny that we went into Fashion Week in our first outing there, and our focus was really support brands that are aligned with our purpose and our mission and our truth. You know, Laquan we're both super woke. You know, we are very, very proud of who we are, our roots, and encouraging and supporting people from where we are. And the funny thing was, after the shows, right, we only did shows on Sunday, which was the Laquan and Pure Moss. The press that came out of that has been crazy. You know,
amazing.
Oh my God. Like we've been called like, standouts for Fashion Week. Marie Claire did a roundup of 17 of the top looks from Fashion Week. We had 2 spots there. One with our show with Look One, second with our show with Pierre Moss. 2 out of 17 spots. And I'm not a makeup artist. We're not a fashion heritage brand. And that was just phenomenal. Phenomenal. The press we've had, everybody's written about the looks we did. Vogue, Elle, Allure. Marie Claire, Refinery 29, Bustle, every major magazine has written 1 to 2 articles, for some of them, even 2 articles about our outing at Fashion Week and what we've done there. And that just been so incredible. And I think it's always a testament to
Congratulations.
Thank you to how we do business that always follow purpose and everything else will come, So, if we'd gone, hey, we just want to sponsor a really big show, we wouldn't have, nobody would have acknowledged what we've done because, I'm seeing there and a lot of the big shows are not making these headlines. The Pierre Moss show was one of them, was disruptive shows, the Fashion Week that everybody's been talking about. And they've been talking about the fashion, they've been talking about the beauty, they've been talking about the purpose. And so it's just been a phenomenal outing and I can't wait for the next Fashion Week because this has just been so inspiring for us. It's been so successful for us and we can't wait to do more.
So how do you balance your personal life and being a sports business woman? Because from the looks of it, it seems like you sleep how long? Like 5 minutes a day? So I know it's so important to have a good support system. So how do you manage life?
I've got great family, and when I mean by support system, here's what people always think. People always say, oh my God, self-care and la, 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 la. And I always say something about self-care and all of this. It's a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
It's a privilege. There are some points you are in your life, you're not afforded that privilege. And I know a lot of people are going to argue with me, but if I was running a business that was 4.5 months old, 108 SKUs, sold in 3 countries around the world, with a team of pretty much a very, very lean team, and I was having an 8-hour sleep day, come on, something wouldn't be quite right? So I think, where I am right now, work-life balance is a privilege, which I can't afford at the very point in time. However, having said that, I'm very energized. I'm not tired. I'm very energized. I love what I do. I mean, even when I like to sleep, I can't sleep. I want to jump up and do more. And so I'm in that place and I'm not always going to be in this place. In a few years' time, I hope to have a much bigger team, everything all settled in, more structure, more process. But you've got to do this grind to get there. You know what I mean? I think people do sometimes take that for granted, especially when they're at that point where they're in a later place where they're like, oh, I wish I had. I'm like, yeah, you wish, but if you've done that, you won't be here. You know what I mean? So don't go be telling me that, oh, I used to be like your work long hours, but I don't do that anymore. Yes, now you have the privilege not to do that anymore. And I look forward to having that privilege. But for right now, I'm a woman of color competing in an industry full of giants. Okay. And every single day is its own challenge. Every single day, you have to have what I call the Obama syndrome in this world, in this business. You have to be perfect when you're a woman of color. Nobody allows you to make mistakes. So whereas other people can go, nah, I have a product launching, I have to go finesse that product 10 million times because I know if I make a mistake with it, I'm not going to
the entire brand.
Exactly. And I think that's definitely for me right now. I wouldn't lie and go like, oh yeah, I've got work-life balance. I'm doing yoga every day or whatever. I don't. But at the same time, I'm conscious of it. That's the most important part. I'm very cognizant of the fact that I don't have this, and also conscious that this is temporary. It is not permanent. I don't expect my life to always be this way. This is a sacrifice I'm making now so that later on I can be afforded that luxury to not turn up at meetings because I'm tired and I want to sleep. So that's already where I am. So, but I think definitely having a support unit is important. My family are such believers of the brand. Most of them, spend all their spare time working for the brand, without any credit, without anything. And I think that's where it's really important, just having people. Sometimes the support is even just having people who believe in you, because that's what keeps you going. Because on the days where you're feeling like weak and you're feeling like I can't do this, you turn around and you see that glow in their eyes of how much they believe in you, and you go like, yeah, I can do this. And that's really that support system that I talk about, and also a support system that doesn't judge me. I spoke to my mom for the first time in a month on Saturday. First time in a month.
Wow.
But she didn't pick up the phone and go, "Oh, you horrible girl, you hate your mother, whatever." That's not what she said. She said, "Are you okay?"
Yes, I love that.
That's exactly, and that's what is a support system, because it's, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
She knows if I could call her, I would call her. She's been calling me the entire time. It's been missed calls on my phone and text messages that didn't get responded to. But she wasn't yelling at me. She goes like, "I feel for you because you're so busy. How can we help?" You know what I mean? And I think that's what is a support system. It's not always the person who comes and throws your phone in the water so that you can sleep or whatever. Sometimes it's that person to tell you, "I know you're busy, but it's not wrong that you're busy. Continue doing what
I
you're doing."
understand, and I'm still here for you.
Exactly. And for me, that's the support system that I have. And the support system that when I'm losing weight, they actually are the ones who call me and say, "Okay, Sharon, you're losing weight. You got to eat. You keep working hard, but you got to find time to eat." You know what I mean? And that's who they are. They're always that voice in my head to go, "Hey, maybe you're taking it too far." Or I remember sometimes my sisters are there, and I had burnt myself so far when I was about to launch, and just at that period of launch, that I was on the call with somebody and I fell asleep. Literally halfway through a call. And my sisters, they pick up the phone and they tell the person, "Oh, look, she's asleep. Is it okay if you don't call back?" And then they put a blanket over me so I could sleep. I woke up and I was tucked in, fully tucked in. That's a support system. They don't judge you. They understand why you do what you do, and they support you through it. And they make you see that support. And that's the kind of support system that I've got.
Wow. That's amazing. So in our episodes, we have been opening up the platform for our listeners to ask questions. And we have one last question from one of our listeners, Jada. And her question is, you've had several venture capitalists on board. And how did you accomplish this with no proof of concept? And especially when only 0.0000.000 of Black women get funded.
Yes.
So how did you pull that off? And can you also touch slightly on the New Voices Fund?
Okay. Now, how did I pull that off? There was no pulling off. It's always God, right? Because it was tough. It was tough, and then it wasn't tough. That was my experience. It was very tough at the start, and I couldn't find anybody to listen to me, or even when they did, they're like, "Oh yeah, great concept. I will really be interested after launch." And it was always, "So how am I going to launch this if everybody wants in after launch, right?" And I met an angel. That's what I call her. And she was super supportive. And she introduced me to the right people. Her words were, "Sharon, you're fishing in the wrong pond. You are fishing in the wrong pond." And I can't forget that. But at this point in time, I was so close to launch. I really needed this money now, because otherwise this wouldn't have happened. I was literally about 2 weeks from this not happening, because I was tapped out, period. There was no money. I had self-funded this for the longest. I self-funded myself to the point where my stock was done.
Yeah.
My stuff was done. And I think that's something to think about as women of color. When if you have the privilege to, make sure you spend enough time. And I hope that other women don't have to do this, but this is just where we are right now. Make sure you spend enough time honing your craft, because there were a few things that helped me in raising money. One, I had credibility in this space. Let's not forget that, especially the amount of money that I raised, which was crazy for a business that hadn't sold a lipstick before. I had credibility in this space. I was extremely well researched. I would never walk into a meeting without, I never used presentations. I don't even put a PowerPoint up. I just talk. I knew all the numbers by heart. I knew the category by heart. I knew my competitors by heart. I knew my supply chain by heart. I knew all my challenges by heart. You know what I mean? So I walked into the meeting, actually, even before they opened their mouth, I was already telling them the challenges of the business. Yeah. I walked into some meetings and even opened with things like, launching 108 products is crazy. I wouldn't back anybody to do that, and so I think as a woman of color, here's the curse that we have. You have to be extremely compelling for anybody to listen to you. That's just a fact. Because you don't really you're walking into rooms with typically Caucasian males in venture capital, right? Who don't really connect to whatever you're saying. Firstly, you're selling them lipsticks. Whatever. They're never going to understand what you're saying. When you go like, "Oh, so women are struggling for foundation." They're like, "Are they?" They don't get it. And then secondly, there is no ground for you guys to bond. And in early stage, half of it is all like emotion, right? A man can walk in there, white male, they went to the same school, they were in the same local lacrosse team. They're going to spend half the conversation just chatting about, oh, and Bob, and, and this and that, and spend no time talking about the concept. But then they love this person, they're giving them their money. You don't have that, because you're walking in and, you're not relating to my story about jollof rice, are you? I ain't got that to tell you. No, we can't talk about nothing. We have nothing, literally nothing in common. And that's just the truth. So I think that was one part for me that I had to really overcome. But the way I overcome that was just being super prepared, extremely prepared. My products were there, my concepts were there. I was working with fully finished products. I had a retailer on board, I had a purchase order. So I did a lot of the legwork beforehand. And then the rest was God. And then New Voices Fund was amazing. They came really late in the game. And I think they were the last check I collected. At that point, I actually had closed, because at this point, that's how it works. When it rains, it pours. Couldn't find anybody to invest. All of a sudden, everybody wants to invest. All of a sudden, I was waiting. All of a sudden, I had to turn down more than I actually took in the end, because I just couldn't take money. And with New Voices Fund, I made an exception, because this was an incredible fund. And with New Voices Fund, my purpose there, and I said this to Rish, going, at first, when the idea of New Voices came in, I was like, no, this is a fund created for women who are in a position where they probably, they haven't come from corporate backgrounds. They probably don't know how to even create a proper presentation to pitch. You know what I mean? They don't have the credibility in the industry. They've got the passion. And so nobody's listening to them. So I felt a little bit like, why will I be taking money of these women? If I take money from this fund, I'm taking money of a woman with great dreams, great ideas, but maybe not necessarily knowing how to package it properly, right? And New Voices Fund is a place where you can come in with whatever and they will listen to you, right? And so I felt really bad. But then my mindset really changed, which was, no, this is also part of service to this fund, because I want to make sure that as I'm growing, I'm supporting an ecosystem of other women to grow as well. So if this brand grows, fingers crossed, and becomes big, that fund as a result is going to grow bigger, which means there's more money for other female entrepreneurs like myself who are of color to feed off. And so all of a sudden I saw this as an ecosystem. And that's what we need to build as a Black community. These ecosystems that supports us, so that the people in the room have something in common. So maybe I can sit there finally and there will be somebody in a room who knows about jollof rice and we can joke about that. That's what we need to do.
Wait. So who has the best jollof rice? Because this is
of course, Nigerian jollof. That's not even a sort of thing to talk about. It's always Nigerian jollof. Of course. So I look forward to, and even part of our mission as UOMA Beauty, we reserve 1% of our revenues that we give back to causes that we care about. One of them being economic self-sufficiency of women. And so I look forward to being able to invest from my business, even outside New Voices Fund, into other women's businesses and make their life a lot easier. Have a more friendly face, have an ear that listens to them, have an ear that doesn't ask them stupid questions like, how does your husband feel about this thing? Because honestly, it was one of my most common questions I kept getting from venture. And the most sophisticated men look me in the eye and ask me the question, how does your husband feel about all of this? And it's almost like, so making sure that we give them an easier time. They don't have to answer the ridiculous questions that we do. And that's part of this journey.
Yeah, as you grow and you build, you're gonna help other people build, and you change the industry that way.
Absolutely, amen to that. That's what we're hoping for.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on. I really had a great time. So everyone who is listening, we can find the brand at UOMA Beauty. And just to clarify, because a lot of people has asked me how to pronounce it, and I'm going to clarify that right now. It is. Yes,
the pronunciation is UOMA. You drop the U and it just OMA. So it's UOMA. But if you actually want to be true to the language, it's UOMA. So if you want to say it properly, it's UOMA, but I don't expect you to sing it. So UOMA is fine.
Okay, UOMA Beauty on Instagram. And yours is Sharon, and your last name is Cutler, right?
It's Chuter, but it confuses people. That's why on Instagram I'm Hey Sharon C. So they don't have to deal with the whole Cutler Chuter thing.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that over. And your personal Instagram is Sharon.
Hey Sharon C. Yeah, hey Sharon C. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming on, and
Thank
we'll
you.
see you guys in the next episode.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
For your chance to win the UOMA Beauty bundle, you want to head over to our Instagram at The Life of a Makeup Artist and tell us what beauty means to you.